Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, my watch is on the wrong time zone.
We did have daylight savings, so that...
Oh, that's what's going on, yes. But, all right, so we're here with Ashley, and we're going to talk a little bit about AI-powered CRM, and hoping, Ashley, maybe just to kick things off, you can tell us a little bit about your journey and sort of how you got into your current role at Pizza Hut.
Yeah, so hi, everyone. Good to see you. I'm Ashley Travis from Pizza Hut. So it's really interesting kind of how I came to work on AI because I'm a traditional marketer at heart. So I started on the agency side, and then I worked at Frito-Lay at PepsiCo for a while, very traditional CPG marketing and shopper, and the Tostitos brand. And then I went over to Starbucks. So my husband and I moved to Seattle. We lived there for about 6 years. And then at Starbucks, I was in retail marketing on the espresso team. And my director at the time, he said, hey, we need someone to go infiltrate the digital team. Because at that time at Starbucks, there was marketing and then there was digital. And in digital, they were building an app and doing something like ordering ahead and something with the loyalty program. And marketing has no involvement in it. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I'm always down to learn new things. So I just started building relationships with the product team, asking questions. Hey, what are you doing? What can marketing do to help you? And that ended up, with me leading the first Starbucks Rewards marketing team and creating a really strong partnership with the digital teams where I had a hybrid role between tech and marketing. And that's kind of where I've found my niche. I did go to Amazon for a couple of years and work on the Amazon Prime account, but then have been at Yum now for almost 6 years. So I started in KFC Global and working with all of our international markets in the US at KFC of how do we grow the digital business for KFC around the world. And then just came to Pizza Hut a year ago. So it hasn't been that long at Pizza Hut, but it's a little bit like coming home because when I was little, my dad was a shift supervisor at a local Pizza Hut. And I remember being little and sitting in the booth with the red checkered tablecloth and the red cup and eating my personal pan pizza, waiting for my dad to get off work. And so, now full circle, I'm at corporate, leading our digital and channel marketing team. And so it's a lot of fun.
I love that. I love that there's actually like a personal tie to where your journey has taken you. We're going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about personalization and CRM. But I think one of the things that struck me in our prior conversation was that Pizza Hut was sort of the first brand within Yum to really put AI to the test. So maybe if you could tell us a little bit about, how AI was used to personalize offers, timing, messaging, and things like that, and the impact that you've started to see that have within the brand.
Yeah, I think one little known fact is that a Pizza Hut pizza was the very first thing ever sold on the internet. Back in the early days of the internet, one of our franchisees created PizzaNet and sold a pizza, and that was like the first commercial thing ever sold. And so at Yum, we kind of lost our way, honestly, a bit on tech, and we're getting it back. And so when we were starting to look at how do we drive personalization at scale, we're like, well, then we have to be the first to do this, at least within Yum. And so we had a really great partner, and we said, hey, let's find a low risk use case that we can go after in CRM that, there's not much downside to it. So let's just try it and see what happens. If it doesn't happen, great, we'll move on. But it was really successful for us. And so now we're kind of building a whole roadmap against it.
I love that. Were there any challenges that you faced when you were implementing it across the CRM to start?
Yeah, so what we did is we took our at-risk audience. So these are customers that are lapsing out of the brand. They haven't ordered with us in over 90 days. And we had an email program already established to try and win them back. So what we did is we worked with a company called OfferFit. That's our AI partner for CRM. And we did multiple variable scenarios. So we had dozens of different subject lines, different content, different offers, different, it could go out at any day of the week. We had time parameters. So those were all just different variables that we put into the machine. And we let the machine do its thing to optimize. It created millions of different variables of emails to go out to these customers, and really optimizing to the individual of what is going to motivate that specific individual to come back to Pizza Hut. And it was great, very successful for us. An 11% increase in transactions. So, 11% increase in activating customers that were choosing to leave the brand, and then a 7% increase in incremental net revenue, which was important because we had offers and very high value offers in the machine. So making sure that it was profitable transactions that we're bringing in was important. And then in terms of challenges, though, what we found in going through the process is that, hey, we thought we had a lot of data. We thought our data was like in a good place. And we're like, oh, we have some work to do to clean up our data, to do really proper audience management. Like if we're going to go further, we need to take a pause and do some data cleanup, because managing audiences becomes really important. The other challenge was just the mindset, like this mindset to build in the team of, hey, you have to be able to think in a test and learn capacity, and understand that you have a little bit less control over what customer sees what, because the machine is optimizing it, but actually come up with ideas to like feed the beast, if you will, to feed more ideas and creative and offers based on what we're learning. So it's just a different kind of skill set and mindset that we're building against the team. And then I think the third challenge that we uncovered was just all of our MarTech working together cohesively, particularly because we had offers, ensuring that the offers worked. And we were delivering serialized codes. And if we're going to send a serialized code, we need to make sure when they get to the web or when they get to the app, it's actually functioning. And I know it sounds really basic, but when you have, CRM, CDP, all of these different MarTech pieces to make sure that journey is seamless for the customer becomes really, really important.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just touched on like quite a few things. I'd love to go a little bit deeper. And the first being the data piece. How are you leveraging that first party data, and are there surprising insights that have come out of it using the AI and the data as you cleaned it up?
Yeah, I mean, we started very simple of just optimizing based on just by a customer ID, not putting any other first party data variables of what they purchased, or what they did last before they started to leave us. Right now, we don't have any of those in the algorithm, but that's certainly an opportunity. But after our kind of 9-week pilot, we took a look at, hey, not just how it performed, but what are the insights that we can get from this? And it was really interesting because we found, for example, older customers like longer subject lines. Of course, younger customers preferred emojis in the subject lines. We found things about, we always thought pizza's a very weekend-heavy business, right? Of like, hey, Friday, Saturday nights. But some customers actually prefer the weeknight occasion. And so sending them an email on Wednesday actually performed better than Thursday. And so just some of those insights that we can then, some of them use more broadly from a business strategy standpoint, were really helpful and surprising and weren't expected.
And I'm assuming you also saw a bit of brand lift with that in a category that can be a bit of a sea of sameness. You want to try and capture people where they're at. So.
Yeah, and right now we're expanding that particular use case, expanding it to push, and then we're building another use case within CRM to be able to continue to just drive relevancy in our engagement with customers.
Yeah. The other thing that you sort of touched on in terms of like learnings was your own team's workflow and the ability to be creative. So could you talk to us a little bit about how you are pushing AI in the workflow for the team?
Yeah, I think a couple a couple points to touch on. One, I ended up completely restructuring the team so that we can grow with this technology. So before I had the CRM and loyalty team and MarTech kind of all under one leader. And so I've split the team out in two and created a MarTech operations team that is in charge of the execution and in charge of just making sure the strategy is executed flawlessly, and then have CRM loyalty strategy under a separate team. So they are really focused on the customer and what do we need to do to drive frequency, drive acquisition with the customer, and kind of build a very robust strategy. Because what was happening is that they'd spend part of their time on execution and then part of the time on strategy. And so nothing was ever getting really thought through thoroughly. So that's one change that we made. I think we also brought in a digital agency, which we didn't have when I joined Pizza Hut, which was shocking to me since, over 70% of our business is digital. And then third, we employed tools just in the way in which we operate. So now everything that we do, our CRM calendar, all of our tickets, what's in our backlog is all tracked in Monday.com. The team works in Microsoft Teams, and we use Copilot to record meetings and take notes. And so we're using technology to just ease the process and the flow of not just working within our team, but working with the tech team as well to ensure that we can just move at the pace that we need to be.
Have you found it's enabled your team to go a little bit deeper, test things quicker, take some wacky sort of risks at all? Have you seen an input difference from that?
Still working on it. I mean, I think they're still a little nervous. There still is a little bit of a fear of failure. But the nice thing about an AI algorithm is if you want to do something a little crazy, the algorithm's going to tell you whether or not it was a good idea, because it's going to optimize it down if it doesn't work very quickly. But if it optimizes it to more and more customers, then you have something. So there is a little bit of a low risk opportunity, but getting over that mental hurdle, it goes back to the mindset shift. We're still kind of working through that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's something where I think all of us are adjusting to what are the tools and how do I actually step outside my comfort zone to use them on things that maybe felt really inherent to my own role in the past, and now how do we actually push and allow it to put a jetpack on what we're doing?
And it's a little bit easier with AI in terms of creative and getting bolder with creative and the optimization. Where you have to be really careful is when you have offers and incentives in the mix. Because if you go bold with what if we went crazy and just gave away a free large stuffed crust pizza, of course that's going to optimize to be the top performing and have nothing to do with the creative. It's just because it's a very high value offer. So you have to put rules in the AI to ensure that it's not just going to, that's where the net revenue came in for us, is hey, never deliver the highest value offer, which was a free medium pizza. Don't ever deliver this to the customer more than twice. Mm-hmm. And there is a rule of, hey, if net revenue hits a certain threshold, deprioritize it. And so that really allowed us to ensure that we were getting other offers and incentives that were more profitable out there first to see if they're going to drive customers in before we go really expensive.
Yeah, I mean, on the flip side, I'm curious, customer expectations, they can go to Netflix and it's completely personalized. How are you sort of balancing their expectations with the offers so that you were converting on a regular basis?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard, right? Because customer expectations are not formed within a category. Competitively, it's really easy for us to think about ourselves within the QSR category and compare ourselves to other pizza players. But when it comes to their digital experience, customer expectations are formed by everything that they experience, of whether it's Airbnb or Netflix or Amazon. They don't care that Amazon has 40,000 people that are managing the site, and we have a very tiny fraction of that. They know personalization is possible, so they expect everyone to do it. And so we have to get there. We're not quite there yet. But we're building the foundations to do that. Putting the right MarTech in place, being on the right, faster commerce solutions that will enable that, and then finding the right opportunities to kind of test our way. And one of the ways in which we're doing that is through customer journey mapping. So we're taking this in end-to-end approach of, hey, let's build out the customer journey from end to end, identify where are we delighting customers, but where are we disappointing customers, and then where are those opportunities within their flow to leverage technology to take a disappointment to a delight, because we're delivering them more relevant communication. And that's going to really help us then start to quantify those opportunities and then prioritize them based on level of effort and level of impact.
It feels like you're really able to sort of like drill down, which makes me immediately think of the role of brand and how do you sort of hold creative integrity and what people's expectations are of brand while also giving them that personalization journey.
Yeah, I mean, the creative aspect of this is really is quite difficult, because the more that you want to leverage AI, the more creative you need to feed the beast. And then right now, creative is still done by a lot of our agencies, in Photoshop. And so we've been really pushing our agencies to say, hey, what AI can you use and employ to help us have more output and to produce more content? And it's really tough, right? I understand. I started off on the agency side, so I get it. Like, you bill by hours, and if you take away hours of developing creative manually and you let a machine do it, you could see your revenue go down. But on the client side, we want to reinvest that money in other areas of the business. So can you save us money in creative development so that we can produce creative faster, and then let us reinvest that money in other areas that we want to go into, but that we can't right now because we don't have the funds to do that. And so I think it becomes important to have really strong agency partnerships and have those conversations. And I think it's important that agencies start seeing that this is where the future is going. And so we're either going to get on the train or we're going to get left behind.
I couldn't agree more. So I think that's a big one that agencies should take away, is make it work with you, not against you.
Yeah.
And I think there's a relational power also between the agency and the brand, where at the end of the day, especially in food service in a crowded market, really what matters is capturing the attention of the customers. So
yeah,
it's a good one. I've touched on it kind of lightly, but the QSR space is really crowded. So how do you implement the AI to try and prevent that lapsing customer moment?
I think this is probably one of the most challenging times in QSR and in pizza, quite frankly, because the landscape has completely changed. And right now, it's all value, value, value. Everyone is out there with some sort of price point. And it becomes important that we start to look at value and define value differently. And how do we really look at the balance of what we're giving to a customer around taste, value, convenience, relevancy, in relation to what they're willing to pay, and ensure that, because the value for them is not just the number and the discount that you put in front of them. And so for us, as we think about building holistic programs, it's important that we do that. And it's going to be not just optimization AI capabilities, but what does Gen AI look like in order to find like fun, engaging opportunities. And so that's the next area that we're testing out starting next week.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Can you tell us anything more about that?
Yeah, so we are, March Madness is a big time for us at Pizza Hut. And historically with March Madness, we haven't done a lot of digital activation. We have a lot of media that we do in March Madness, and we slap our logo on it and say like, yay, we're official sponsors of March Madness. But this year we decided, hey, we really want to do something different, and we really want to just own basketball. And our agency was very provocative, and they came to us and they were like, if you want to own basketball, you need to look like you show up in basketball. And just like putting your logo on something is not knowing basketball or showing up in basketball. So we are leveraging AI to create a digital mascot that will also show up as a real life mascot in the Final Four, hopefully. hopefully the NCAA approves, and still working through that. You guys know the fun of that. And so the AI around this digital mascot will allow us to respond in real time to what's happening in culture around basketball. So let's say there's a viral moment that happens, like the woman with the flute, right? When she was crying because her team was losing, but she still had to play the flute, and it's still a meme today, like 10 years later. We can go into the tool and say, let's have Huddy, that's his name, let's have Huddy crying, playing a flute, and it'll create that, and then we can put it out on social, like within real time. So that's one way in which we're leveraging AI. But then Huddy is also a chatbot. So we're partnering with Meta and AI Studios to create this chatbot where you can actually talk to him throughout the tournament and get tips. He's going to tell you what he thinks. He's going to pull stats from the internet and tell you about games. If he's going to learn what your favorite team is, and then if your team loses, like send you a free pizza. So it's really exciting to be able to leverage this technology, not just to drive business results from an optimization, what offers best, but leverage it to just delight our customers and have fun and indulge with them and the sport that they love and we love as well.
Well, and there's something so nice about maintaining that like human touch, that human interaction moment. So I'm curious how you are trying to find the balance between the two so that it resonates and we're maintaining like a level of trust as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important. I think we're just getting into it. But that's kind of what we're at every initiative that we're moving forward with. It's okay, how do we find that balance of instigating joy with our customers, but also in a way that's going to drive and deliver transactions back into the business. And at Starbucks, when we launched gamification, it was when we first launched Starbucks for Life, it was like a sweeps, and it was just all about driving transactions, but it wasn't a lot of fun, right? So then we made it a collect and win, and we had the little characters, and then created experiential layers to it. And so finding that balance is really, really important. It's probably the toughest thing we do in digital marketing.
I also think like you're touching on something about the fact that digital needs to not just sit in a silo.
Yeah.
And your background sort of speaks to the way that you can pull those other levers and give a real, like, what's the flywheel of everything coming together. So it's exciting to make sure you connect on a deeper level.
It's really important. I mean, in my past decade or more of working in this space, I've reported to a CFO, I've reported to a CTO, I've reported to marketers, it just bounces all over. And I think as long as you focus on the work and focus on the customer, it's like, I don't care what org I'm in, as long as I get to do really amazing work that speaks to customers, and I have the freedom to push boundaries, because that's what's important to me, is innovating and pushing boundaries in what we do, then I'm good.
I love it. I think we are almost coming up on time for questions, but I have one final question, and it would be, as you sort of look future facing, are there any like big trends or pieces of advice for the other marketers who are trying to work with AI in their relationship management?
I think there's just a lot of people that are scared of AI for a lot of reasons. The lack of regulation, is it going to take my job? And so I think it's important as you work through organizationally what role it's going to play, thinking through a lot of those reservations in preparation for those conversations. And what I see is that the technology is taking over some of the menial tasks of execution, but it frees up then people to be more creative and more strategic. And so I don't think it's not going to replace jobs for one-to-one. It's going to change people's jobs and actually allow for more creative freedom because some of the menial tasks are being replaced with the computers. And so, what we want to do is just put amazing pizza out in front of customers, and the best way we can, so that like everyone can be like enjoying their like personal pan pizza and like enjoying it. And and for the next few days, for anyone that's here, you can download the Pizza Hut app, and at checkout, enter South by Southwest 25, and you can get a free personal pan pizza just for people people that are here at the conference. So enjoy. And from it's like some childhood memories are always great.
I used to go all the time with my mom, so I remember being down at the beach and just like getting to order what I wanted, and it was so exciting. We'll plug the code again. You said South by Southwest 25.
Yes, SXSW 25, all caps.
All right. Any questions from the audience? Yeah, one over here.
But they're on the wireless mics, so just shout. Cool. All right.
We'll repeat it.
But firstly, thanks for a great insightful conversation. That's been great. You mentioned using AI for all kinds of things, doing things that have never been done before, creating personalized experiences, doing personalized content, and then it sort of like begs the question: where does AI live in the organization? There's some brands appoint chief AI officers, other companies talking about using AI everywhere. So where does it live within your organization, and where should it live?
So the question was, there's a lot of different ways AI can come to life in an organization. Where should it live?
Yeah, so for us at Yum, we've made it a strategic priority. So Joe Park, he's our Yum Chief Digital and Technology Officer. You can see interviews of him talking about the importance of AI. So we've created a centralized center of excellence at Yum across all of the brands called Crave AI that kind of oversees, and they're kind of a center of excellence for us to go to on what tech are we using and sharing learnings across all of the different brands. So we meet every single week. We have an AI-driven marketing steerco that we meet across all of the brands, and we share our roadmaps. We share what partners we're using, how are we progressing, what are we learning. And so for us, the next use case that we're going into with CRM is the onboarding journey, because Taco Bell ran the onboarding journey and saw great results. And I'm like, great, Dane, let me just steal that from you. And what variables did you use? And we'll copy paste, put a Pizza Hut flair on it so we can move faster. So by having that Yum Center of Excellence, it allows us to actually test more across brands and scale learnings faster than any one of us could have done on our own. But yeah, and that sits under digital and technology. But the people leading it have both a marketing and technology background.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have another question up front.
I love your earring.
Thank you.
So, coming from Expedia, I also lead the CRM field. Like literally, if you tell me, I was like, what you went through is exactly what I went through. With that said, my latest confession with the tool, you did briefly talk about challenges in implementing everything. A, what MarTech tool are you using currently? Like, so is it marketer or like those? That's my first question. B, do you also use agency or outside help to be the implementation process entirely in-house?
So really quick, the question was sort of like, what are the MarTech tools that you're using at Pizza Hut? And then how are you working with, if you're working with an agency?
Yeah, so for the CRM use cases, our MarTech is Braze from a CRM perspective. We have Treasure Data for CDP. And then OfferFit is the AI tool that we're using that is essentially connecting the two. So we have all of our customer data going into the machine from Treasure Data. And then it's optimizing, and then it's shooting out all of the content through Braze to deliver all of the different scenarios. So that's what we're using in CRM. For the Gen AI that we're launching next week, and we do all of that in-house. And then for the Gen AI that we're launching next week, we're using Meta AI Studios, and our agency is developing that. They're a lot funnier and can train Huddy to be more entertaining than anyone on my team ever could.
Thank you.
Do we have any other? I see one, two. We'll do right there first.
Seems so well versed in AI, and there's so many brands that are still afraid to talk about if they can use AI in their organization. I wanted to ask you for Brett, how did you become so comfortable with the tool and to course in it? Like, how did you talk to speak?
That's a really great question because there's a couple ways you can go depending on where your company is with AI. If you are trying to push it like a rock up a mountain and your company's not embracing it, you just kind of have to do a lot of self-learning and self-study. I'm fortunate that it is a strategic priority for Yum. So they brought in Harvard Business School and created a course for all of our executive leaders leaders across all of Yum, we were mandated to go through AI training. So you're talking like presidents, CMOs, CTOs. So all of us went through training together. We had to read case studies. It was like going back to school, and then we all met together and went through a course together where they were teaching us on how this works and the ethics behind it. So if your company leans in, they need to be investing in things like that to train you, especially the executive team, because a lot of the people that are younger on your team are going to be more familiar with it, and they're like, but for those of us that remember like when social first launched and organic social was like actually a thing, I was taking Tostitos like pictures in my driveway and posting it on our first Facebook page, and so we need that like level of training, and it also helps like emphasize the importance of it to the business to gain like adoption much faster.
Do we have time for one more, or are we at? Okay. Well, I think that we're at time. Thankfully, it was the same question. Ashley, thank you so much.
Of course.
And thank you all for being here to take a listen. Right. Thanks.